everybody, how you doing tonight? Thought we would make some homemade chocolate chip cookies because sounds good. It's a good taste treat and something we don't do very often, but every now and again it's just a good thing. So I inherited my mom's KitchenAid mixer, for which I am very grateful. Love having it. I'm going to use this beater. Yes, I promise I have already washed my hands. I got my hair up so we don't have germs and hair in our food. My recipe calls for shortening. I use lard. I think it has better flavor. If you want to, you can use butter, or you can change it up to whatever other emulsifier, I think that's what we want to call it, that you would like. I grew up on lard. Came from good old country cooking, and so it's just kind of stuck with me. Yes, seriously, stuck with me. But I still think the flavor is very good. My sister and my nieces, I think all now, at least one of my sisters definitely prefers the butter to the lard these days, or to the shortening, and it's not that big a deal. Whatever makes you guys comfortable, whatever you prefer taste-wise, that is exactly what you should do. This measuring cup that I have makes it a little challenging to get everything in and make sure that we have the right amount. And one thing with baking, since it is a science, it is not necessarily personal preference. It is the proportions that make everything go together, that make it all come together and work. Shouldn't put this on yet. Put a few ingredients in here first. Makes it a little easier. You all have special traditions or special things that bring back fun memories, or memories altogether. I will say that one of the things I thought about after my mom had passed away is, why on earth did I not think to buy her a newer set of measuring cups? Because at one point in time, I'm not telling you how old I am, but I grew up with these. They are Tupperware. They are really hard to read the measurements on them. So my mom at one point in time had started trying to paint over the amounts with fingernail polish. It worked, but we could have made it easier in so many ways. There's so many more helps out there these days than there used to be. All right, so a cup of lard. And now I need a cup of granulated sugar, and I'm going to use the same cup because we don't need a separate one for this. And actually this sugar will just help us get the rest of the lard out of the cup. Easy peasy. My mom baked cookies growing up, especially chocolate chip ones. She loved walnuts. I do not. So we always knew who made the cookies in the household, mom or me, depending upon if there was nuts or no nuts. In this case, there will be no nuts. All right. I need half a cup of brown sugar to go along with that. Thought I had brought a bigger spoon over here. I did not. It's all right. I'm going to be creative and use our little teaspoon that we're going to use for dishing out the cookie dough later, because we can do that. Okay. So, as I was saying, I forgot to bring over a bigger spoon, but we're going to be using this spoon later to dish out the dough with anyhow, and it works just fine. So we got that all done. Now we'll put our beater in. Just makes it easier to get that stuff in when you don't have it in the way. And away we go. One thing about this mixer I have learned is there's always a little bit on the bottom that does not come together on its own, so you got to help it out just a little bit. But in the scheme of things, that's really not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Do you all know what to do with your brown sugar if it gets too hard to work with? Because you don't use it often enough, like I am guilty of? You can either slide a couple of small slices of apple in and leave it for a couple of days, or pop half a piece of bread in there and it'll do the same thing. Put some moisture back into your brown sugar for you, which is a wonderful thing to have happen. Brown sugar ran away there. All right, so my eggs are not really happy eggs, at least from the Happy Egg Company. I get my eggs from somebody local, and because I do that, I'm also going to crack them individually into a bowl, because sometimes our farm fresh eggs are not always as farm fresh as we would like them to be. So if you crack your egg, and mine is okay, hopefully you can see that all right. Oh, I'm gonna get it on the floor is what I'm gonna do. If your egg white or egg yolk comes apart really easy, I wouldn't use it. I would go ahead and throw it away. And our recipe is calling for 3 eggs. And that one too is a beautiful egg. And one more. And as you can see, I actually already have Easter egg eggs. They come in greens and oranges and white and a variety of colors depending upon the chicken, which is quite fun. Never know what you're going to get until you open the carton. Okay, and I'm also going to go ahead and turn on my oven so that it's ready to rock and roll. Eggs back in the fridge since I don't need them anymore. I also tend to clean off my beaters a little bit process too, just to make sure that everything's getting mixed as well as we possibly can have it. Okay. Now we need half a teaspoon of soda. I keep my soda in this handy dandy little soda keeper because soda is really good for soaking up all the scents in your freezer and in your refrigerator, and it also will pick up other scents. So this handy dandy little keeper helps to keep my soda fresh for baking, which I really do appreciate. And now we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I am pretty particular about my baking powder, honestly. You can do anything that you please. I, in particular, look for baking powder that is aluminum free. We have enough junk in our system. We don't need our baking powder to have it too. So I do look for that. And then it calls for a half a teaspoon of salt, and because I'm using the Redmond's sea salt, the granular stuff, and it's pretty salty salt, again, I'm not going to put in the whole teaspoon, just because it is a little bit more salty than some of the other salts that we have been known to use in the past. I'm going to go ahead and mix those all up. And then, as we get going here too, the other thing is your personal preference as to how you like your cookies. In this family, we tend to like them softer rather than harder. So we're going to strive for that tonight. And our recipe calls for a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and I just use the fake stuff for things like this. I don't think I need the real true vanilla for simple cookies at home. All right, let's be honest. I'm gonna do a lot more. I did 2 teaspoons of vanilla instead of just 1. But I think it just adds a kick to it that isn't there otherwise. It also, the imitation stuff is not as strong in flavor as the true vanilla is. So keep that in mind, depending upon what recipe you're making. You may actually want to have the real true vanilla. And if you get real creative, you can actually make it yourself. One of these days, I'll probably dive off into that and give it a go. All right, so our recipe calls for 3 cups of flour. And I am cheating. And although I must admit now, this is not the sifter that I grew up with in particular, because that one finally broke about a year ago. It is very close. So this first batch of flour, I'm actually going to truly measure. And this is a 2-cup measuring cup. So that makes it easy peasy. Except for when I dump it all over the counter and the bag of chocolate chips sitting here. And then we don't have, the full 2 cups anymore. As I like to tell myself during processes like this, it's okay. I like to clean the kitchen. Sounds good in theory, but no, I don't really like to clean the kitchen. It's the necessary evil, I guess, when we're cooking and baking. I have yet to figure out how to have a cleaning fairy come in behind me. So I'm going to mix this first 2 cups. Yes, I know there's a shield that you could use, but my shield is broken and I haven't replaced it because I just don't feel like I really truly need that. So I just don't do that. Alright, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to go for my clean 1-cup measuring cup because, like I said, this first set of measurements for flour we will do precisely, or pretty precisely, depending upon if I spill it on the counter again or not. All right. Now, I know in baking too that altitude, etc., and humidity can make a difference. So in my world, because we like our cookies softer, and this is how it works out really well for us, is we're going to add an extra quarter to a half of a teaspoon, oh my goodness, I'm only a little tired. A quarter to a half of a cup of flour. Because we haven't had a lot of rain lately, and it feels just a little drier out there to me than it has at other times this summer / fall, I'm going to start with a quarter cup, and I'm not going to get another measuring cup out. I'm just going to use my half cup and move on down the road. And then it calls for 6 ounces of chocolate chips. We'll measure kind of close. Might be 7. Maybe, give or take. Oh, that's chocolate. Can't really go wrong with chocolate, right? Now the one thing that I will do now is I'm going to stop. Believe it or not, I should have started my oven a little sooner because it's not really quite ready yet. It should be here in just a minute. I'm not going to pull the beater out of here yet. I'm going to hang tight just a little minute. But what I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and not fill my whole pan. I'm going to put like 2 or 3 cookies on this pan. And yes, guess what? I did. I grew up baking on these cookie sheets too. I have newer ones I bought, you know, when I became a big girl. But I inherited these 2, and they're still my favorite cookie sheets. So that's my go-to, and I'm going to stick with it. So, if you are really a perfectionist, you have ADD, you just absolutely cannot stand it when things are not perfect, I suggest you get a small melon baller from the store, and that way you can scoop up and be oh so precise with your cookies. I'm not any of those, so I just have a teaspoon. Depends upon how big you want them to be or not. If you want them a little bigger, then please feel free to make them a little bigger. Totally up to you. I'm gonna do one more. And then we're gonna pop this batch in the oven, and I just kind of spread them around a little bit. It's not much dough. Taking a little bit more off. Okay, so I just have these spread around on my cookie sheet. I'm going to pop them in the oven now for my, I'm going to start with 8 minutes. We'll see if we think they're done then or not. If they are, we'll let them cool, and then we'll check them out and see if they're soft enough. If not, we're going to add that other quarter cup of flour, see how it turns out. See you in a bit. That's our 8 minutes. Let's see. See how we did here. Looks pretty good. We're gonna let these cool, and I usually leave them on a cookie sheet for just a few seconds. I don't know, like about 30, so they just finish cooking just a little bit on the bottom but not on the top. So we'll give them a go, see if they are to our softness liking, and then we'll decide if we're going to add more flour or not. Okay, am I ready for this? So I put my hand right over the camera probably. Looks a little golden on the front, perfectly golden on the back. And when you break it, it breaks off easy peasy. Right there. 8 minutes with an extra half a cup or extra quarter cup of flour. So 3 1/4 cups of flour is what I did. And now I'm going to fill up my pan. Put them all back in there for 8 minutes. I'll be ready to go. So one of the advantages of this old cookie sheet is it's well imprinted for where we would like the cookie dough to go. It's made several hundreds of batches of cookies over the years. Easy peasy. And like I said, if you are one of these that want them to be more perfect, go ahead and go get one of those little melon ballers. That's fine. Doesn't hurt a thing. And it makes them much more uniform. And will make things a little prettier in your world. And if I was doing this, you know, maybe for a function or get well, or sometimes I take meals to people who've been sick or something like that, had a baby, then I would worry a little bit more about how precise they are, but I have a feeling most of these will just stay right here and disappear in the next few days here. And then I always, for whatever reason these days, I only bake one sheet at a time. You can do it however you want to, but because of that, while this pan is in the oven doing its thing, I'll get the next pan ready, so all I gotta do is switch them out and be ready to rock and roll. As you can see, although I say easy peasy and not a big deal, I'm going back and adding a little bit more dough to make them more even. Alright, I'm a little more anal than I thought I was. Alright, in the oven they go. We'll check these one more time when this batch is done. Make sure they turned out okay. Okay, next batch is ready. And yes, I agree, it's ready. Set those up there. Put the next batch in. And voila, have a great night.